Welcome, everybody, and welcome to another transmission of Kyber Squad. I'm your host, Freddie Days, and with me, the one and only, Jerry Mogar. Jerry,
Hello
how are you
there.
today?
Hello squad. How you doing? Hope everyone's doing fine, staying safe, staying home, or just keeping yourself safe. It's hurricane season when we're recording
Of
this,
course.
so yeah, here we are, and there might be some lag,
Yeah,
so just bear with us.
yeah. Today, unfortunately, on recording day, it's raining. The reception is a little bit bad, so just be patient with us. We hope to deliver you another quality audio of our own unique storytelling, and which, by the way, today we're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars Episode 2, The Attack of the Clones. Uh, Very interesting movie. I don't know, you, Jerry. What is your perception of this of the Clone Wars? Like
Well,
overall, your perception overall.
overall, if I were to grade it, I would give it a from 1 to 10. I would give it a solid 7.5. I mean, it's good. It's good, yes.
A
But the
7.5. Yeah.
the romance and all of that, not a fan of. Actually, I think it slows down the story. So it's just like, come on, give me more war. Give me more Jedi against the what was that planet named? Against the Genosians. I don't know how to pronounce
Yeah.
that.
Genosis.
That's all right.
Geonosis.
Yeah, Genosis. We
Okay.
meet the clones. Nice to meet you, clones. But yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good. It's good. Not the best from my point of view, but it's good. It's good. I mean, that romance thing and Anakin being well,
Yeah.
love and
So is
all those scenes.
so this movie it's this movie it's really important. I mean, again, not my favorite, but it's important because the plot starts to develop more and more, and we get to see in this scenario, let's say a young adult of Anakin. So in the storyline, plays around 10 years after the Phantom Menace. So we see an older Anakin, actually, and also some sort of Jesus lookalike Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan,
Oh yes, yes.
with a long hair and a lot of beard. It's like,
There,
okay,
there's there's one
it's actually
video.
not.
There's one video actually out there on YouTube. I believe I saw that one or on Facebook, something like that, where this guy goes out to his grandma's house or to his mother's house and puts that Obi-Wan picture instead of a Jesus picture,
Okay.
or he goes and says, "Hey, this is Jesus." Yes, Jesus. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
fun. I should do that, like here with my grandma. Probably, probably I'll get the same reaction. That should be fun. That would be fun.
Now, now, continue talking about the overall story of the Attack of the Clones. It is an important movie because this one gives you a glimpse of the conflict that was within Anakin. Now, let's remember that the purpose of the prequels 1 through 3 is to tell us the story of Darth Vader, or the person that we know of in the original trilogy. Now, again, we've all discussed about how underrated the prequels, especially Episode 1 and 2, are. Uh, I would give it as well, as I mentioned. It's not my favorite movie. It's actually, if I was going to rate it in 1 through 3, My favorite episode is episode 3, then episode 1, and lastly episode 2. But okay, first things first. So how do we start with this movie? How do we first see Anakin and Obi-Wan?
I believe that they're going to Coruscant, and that's when we see them, and we see Anakin all grown up, tall and stuff, interpreted by the one and only Hayden Christensen, which
Hayden Christensen.
is a interpretation very what's the word for it, very controversial, because many fans didn't like his interpretation. And then again, I need to side here with Star Wars theory. As he points out, he says that it was a great interpretation. It was great because he was pausing, like the way he spoke things, and he was just throwing tantrums and all of that. And that is, I believe, to reflect the conflict that was within him, because he grew up without a father. He grew up without a mother. He had to grow up however he had to grow up. He was very force sensitive, so he was able to see the future in his dreams. So it was, I mean, what would you do if you were in his shoes? I believe I would react the same way. I mean, honestly, it's just like, hey, I want to protect everyone. I don't want to have somebody to die. I want to protect that from happening, or him from having that actual luck. So it's kind of complicated. Probably not deserving an Oscar, if you will, but I think he did his job the way it was supposed to be done.
Exactly. I mean, I find the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan very, I don't know, like unique. It's very different, the relationship they have between, that George Lucas shows us in episode 2 from episode 3. But in episode 2, we see a relationship like Obi-Wan trying to be the role model, still trying to figure out how to be the master. But I don't know, he would like to impose and just to say, like, because that's what we do, instead of trying to explain, or let's say trying to listen to Anakin. And the first thing,
that's true, because
that we see in the movie are talking with Padme.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, I mean, Obi-Wan is trying to be a master, but that's not what Anakin needed at that time. He needed a figure that would try to understand him, try to listen to him, at the very least. And Obi-Wan's just like instructing. So then again, as Dave Filoni points out on the extra content regarding to the Mandalorian season 1, he speaks about this relationship, about Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship, talking about how Obi-Wan was never going to be the father figure that Qui-Gon could have been for Anakin. But as we see on episode 1, we see that Qui-Gon ends up being dead. He ends up getting killed by Darth Maul.
Yeah.
And we see this confusion for as far as both characters go, because Obi-Wan was strict with the dogma that the Jedi had at that point. And Anakin was conflicted. He grew up conflicted. He grew up a slave, and then he ends up being another slave, another type of slave to the Republic, if we could call it that way, because that's what Jedi were. It's so much dogma, so much rules, that he wasn't able to do much for himself. So he never, up until this point, he never got to know himself or got to enjoy himself because he was ruled by some other group of people, which are the Jedi.
Yeah. So again, from the very beginning, we see the this relationship, master apprentice, like wannabe father and son. Because again, the relationship between Jedi's, they tried to be close but distant at the same time. It was very like a rule in the Jedi, like, okay, you have your Padawan, but you're not going to establish any emotion with him or her. So, uh, yeah, Obi-Wan and like telling Anakin, like, okay, we're gonna do this, but Anakin was very human-like, or had like difficult trying to control those human emotions that the Jedi trained since very little. And Anakin, by the time that
Correct.
he was trained, he was 10 years plus. So he never. Now we see the first again. We see the first glimpse of a rebellious or an Anakin, like, but the next one that Obi-Wan didn't say anything, and I think he should have said something, or should try to channelize that emotions of Anakin when they are chasing this bounty hunter that tried to kill Padme. When finally they capture it and they tell him, like they're questioning her, like, who sent you? I mean, she wasn't going to speak, but Anakin, we see like the first a little bit of a taste of dark side, because Anakin is like, tell us now, like really angry. Even Obi-Wan watch him like it's not necessary. He gives him a look. He doesn't say anything, but he gives
Yeah.
him a look.
Yeah,
And
he gives
actually,
this Mexican look that all of our mothers have whenever you do something that it is not appealing to them. They'll just give you this look. They'll just give you this look of, I know what you're doing. Stop it right now.
yeah.
You know, the flying the flying Sandler will come to you. So stop it. Stop it. Right now.
The flying chancla,
The flying
the
magical
flying
chancla.
So we see like the personality of Anakin is very unique, and it's not a Jedi should be, just not at all.
Yeah.
Then, okay, they go back. I believe that as far as in the story go, tell Padme, you need to hide because this is a second attempt on your life. And well, so on. They send Anakin on a mission to Padme. But remember, like, I really think that in the entire story, the council has a lot to what is this word, to like to have this type of responsibility, because I'm not sure if the council knew, but at least that Anakin had like these feelings for Padme since he was a little kid. Since 10 years old, he had a crush on Padme, and when he saw her for, I don't know, like 10 years, 10 or more years,
Yeah,
he was like, wow, you're still so beautiful, in front of Obi-Wan. In front of Obi-Wan.
Yeah. They were flirting to the eyes of Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan was so blinded by the dogma and by the rules that he saw quite easily past it. So it was like, really? You're seeing it and you're not seeing it. What the bleep? just
now here we're gonna do like a parenthesis in this part, because I wouldn't say anything, but or why Obi-Wan would not like bring that to the attention in the entire movie, or in the film 2 and in the film 3. And a lot of people don't know that Obi-Wan had a similar situation like Anakin, But we see that in the animated series, in the Clone Wars, we see a little bit more of that relationship. But also in that I don't know which was a comic, but when Qui-Gon was still alive, Qui-Gon knew what the situation was between Obi-Wan and Satine, and Qui-Gon was really like smart about it. Told him like, you know what, you know what the responsibilities are, and you know what is going to happen if you decide to go through this path. I'm going to support you, but it's up to you. So Qui-Gon always talked about it. And Obi-Wan took the decision of, you know what, I'm going to stay here with the council. I'm going to step away from this relationship because but Qui-Gon made him think. But Obi-Wan was really, what's the word? Passive, was like trying to ignore
Yeah,
it. I
well,
don't know.
he
In
wasn't
his
taking
mind,
he wasn't taking
he
that
thought
approach.
that
Let's just say that he wasn't taking that approach. He was just taking the approach of, you know, it's forbidden, you shouldn't do it, and you shouldn't do it. It wasn't a more understanding role as Qui-Gon would, as you pointed out, as far as, hey, you know what? Those are the rules, but you know, I don't completely follow them. So I can support you, but just be careful. Just like being on that warning side of, hey, that's your
exactly,
responsibility. That's gonna be you. I'm gonna try to protect you, but you know how things are. It is that simple. It's more of a
exactly,
leadership type of role, the one that Qui-Gon would have, instead of the management side, which Obi-Wan had a lot. You know, it was more of you know
yeah,
what, this is you. These are the rules. You know that I can stand by you in what I can. I can support you the way I can, but but rules are rules, and you know you're gonna be looked down
yeah,
on that because of you infringing the rules. So yeah, and we see different
exactly.
characters as well.
Now,
Obi-Wan and Anakin were different characters. Were I wouldn't say opposites. I wouldn't say extremes, but they were different. You know.
yeah. So this circumstances of this plots or this act that they had against Padme, which, by the way, something we forgot to mention. At this point, Padme is no longer the queen of Naboo. At this point, she's just a senator. So she's a senator, but she has a lot of representation and a lot of power representing Naboo. And well, so Chancellor Palpatine made his way through the Chancellor since Episode One. So at this point, he had been like 10 years in power. So well, Palpatine is the one who said like, you know what, Anakin should go with Padme to Naboo. Well, Obi-Wan, you go ahead and investigate like who made this attempt. This is where the all starts getting like, where we get this plot twist, and you know the story gets really good. So
Yeah,
after Anakin
the
and
plot
Padme
thickens.
leave to Naboo, the plot thickens. Obi-Wan finds out that the darts of this bounty hunter who killed his witness, the other bounty hunter that they had captured, he finds out that they were Kaminoan darts. So this person, this like chef in the city of Coruscant, tells him like, yeah, these are from Camino. You should go like this place. But when Obi-Wan is investigating, he's like, huh, in this map in the Jedi library, there's no sign of Camino. So he goes to Yoda, and Yoda is with the little like kids with the little Padawans. We have like a moment of
Mhm.
what's the words Yoda said? Like how um,
Interesting. The mind of a kid is, or
yeah,
something like that, you
and
know. But
yeah, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, then again, we see. Well, you come to realize that yeah, sometimes you gotta look at things very simple-mindedly, if you will, because sometimes we're just stuck in rules, stuck in knowledge that we think we know. And then again, the simplest idea could be mind breaking. You know, it could be world breaking, could be very innovative. So that does bring or shed some light as far as how we can look at things to make them simpler. I mean, we get so involved as adults in the modern life of hey, you know what, this is the process, blah 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 blah. Yeah, but let's take a look, a very simple look at this. Let's try to change one thing, and that one thing can modify process, make it more efficient, and blah 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 blah. So it's very interesting, that phrase
Exactly.
that
And basically, exactly, because because what the kid said was, Master, maybe somebody erased that planet from the files. And Yoda says, like, indeed, how interesting, and how like kids think out of the box. And Yoda says, yes, follow what the kid says. Like, if the planet should be here, but it isn't, someone erased it, that we cannot know right now who did it, but go ahead on your way and you should find your planet, which it does. Obi-Wan goes through hyperspace and then boom, there it is. This is the first time we see the planet of Kamino. We see Obi-Wan goes in, and it's just like a planet, an artificial island, if you will, because it's just an entire city built in like platforms in the middle of the ocean. So Obi-Wan arrives. He's received by a Kaminoan, and I think it's Nala Se, actually. And she's like, the Prime Minister, it's waiting for you.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan is like, they waiting for me? Like, what? Okay, so they take them through the tour and all that. And then he tells him, like, your army is ready. Obi-Wan is like, wait, what?
My army?
And this is the first, my army. So here we find two things. Actually, a couple of things, might be more, but the first thing, we see the clones, the clone army, how they are being trained, how they are like in the process of the training and this and that. Okay, so we find out that the clone army has been created for around 10 years. That's the first thing. Second thing, we find out that a Jedi Master from the Council called Sifo Dyas is the one who ordered it. Now, Obi-Wan says Master Sifo Dyas has been dead and, for 10 years plus. So it's like, oh, so we have another mystery. And the third one that comes in my mind right now, it's the person where the clones come from. And here we find that Temuera Morrison, we meet him for the very first time,
yes,
interpreting the paper as Jango Fett.
Mr. Jango Fett.
But
we see as well that he had requested an unaltered clone for himself, which pretty much he wanted a baby. That's it. He wanted a son.
Yeah.
He wanted a son. He wanted to carry on his legacy through a clone. He didn't want to get engaged with any lady there or any other man. We don't know if he's bi or if Disney will change that, because they're changing everything. Hate it. Slave One now is Hairspray, or whatever the name they put that.
Changing everything.
Oh God. But anywho,
Flash like that.
Firecracker, fire pedo, fire fart. I don't know. Sucky name. But anywho, we see for the first time as well Boba Fett as a kid. So that legacy will definitely carry on. And what a way!
Exactly.
What a way to carry on a legacy. But we've already spoken about Boba. We're gonna be seeing more about Boba on the Book of Boba, coming out, I believe, this year. They just ended shooting, and I believe they're on post production right now. Thankfully, hopefully that'll be a good one to enjoy. And we see that of course Obi-Wan has a dialogue with Django, and they try to talk shop and blah 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 blah.
Yep.
He finds out he's the bounty hunter and all of that. So Django obviously does sense that, and he's like, "Hey, Boba, pack your things, pack your up. We're leaving right now, right now. Let's go, let's go."
Yeah.
So
We got to go. We got to go.
we got to go. Alrighty then.
So now, here we have simultaneously like two stories. We're seeing Obi-Wan and this conflict with Django and the clones, and on the other side we see that this guy, what's it called, that Anakin is having like this, let's say he's having this conflict within himself and Padme, because Padme has also feelings for him, but they're like,
Yeah.
It
is
I'm older
a
than you, and
relationship
you're a
that
Jedi,
it
and
is
this
not
cannot
supposed to
happen.
be. Not supposed to be. It shouldn't happen. Due to the politics and all the dogma and all that bull crap that we see there. But yeah, we see that relationship building,
Basically.
growing, getting stronger by the minute, getting more attached by the minute, by the second. And that's when we also see this type of love scene where she's like, oh, Anakin, we shouldn't. And Anakin's like, it's killing me from the inside, from the goods. Well, all of this happens. Okay, so that romantic scene happens and all of that. Beautiful jazz or not.
Yeah.
And
No. Yeah. So that happens, and then that same night, Anakin has a vision. So we see that like this first vision of his mother like dying, and he cannot handle it. He had like this insomnia, so next day he's like watching the horizon, and Padme is like, "Why are you not sleeping?" and all that, and just drama.
Yeah.
Bottom line, Anakin tells him like, I gotta go see my mother. I need to find her. I need to know if she's okay. And they had orders to stay in Naboo, but Padme is like, okay, I'm going to help you. You have to protect me and follow me where I go. So I'm gonna go to Tatooine.
Yeah.
Off they go. And off they go. So at the same time, they show us they're leaving from Naboo to Tatooine, and they go back and show us
Watto, right?
one chasing Django.
We see Watto.
No.
Oh no, we're going to Geonosis right now. Or not?
Yeah, we're going to Geonosis. Yeah, because in this part it's when Obi-Wan is chasing Django, and Django
is on the Slave One. Slave One. That's the name of that ship. That's the name of that ship. You Disney's come. It's Slave One. Don't change that name.
And we see.
Oh, God.
We see one of these most amazing bombs that Django throws to Obi-Wan, and I'm talking about the ultrasonic bomb. There in the space, they're going through an asteroid field, and then all of a sudden, boom!
Oh, that's seismic charge. Oh man!
Seismic charge. The seismic charge. That one.
I love it. So good. So yeah, we see that here and there, and Obi-Wan ends up just being by himself, all good, all chill. He arrives to Geonosis, and we jump back to Tatooine. So Anakin is with Padme. They get down to the ship, and they start walking. But who do they see? Annie! Annie! We see Watto. And
Yeah,
he tells him the
we
story
see an
of
old
his
one though.
mom. Yeah, yeah. We see him old, decrepit, like he lost everything. He lost everything with that bat. Um, so yeah, he's on the street. He doesn't have his local anymore. Doesn't have his place, and he's just selling what he can, you know. And he tells him the story of Shmi, that he sold her to a high bidder, and it looks like that man freed her. So we go to Lance's Lars. No, Lars. What was his name? I
Yeah,
forgot.
yeah.
Lars. We go to Lars'
It
home.
was Lars. Ah, but what
Not
was his
Lars Ulrich.
last name?
Not Lars Ulrich. I'm thinking Metallica here. Well, so we go to Lars's farm, which is a house that eventually is where Luke lives, but we'll get there when we get there, you know. So we see him. We see an old man, amputated, and he tells Anakin the story of his mom, that he was taken by the Sand People, by the Tusken Raiders, and anyway, long story short, they captured her mom, his mom, sorry. They captured his mom, and he sets out to go and rescue her. So we see that he goes to the village, if you will, of the Tusken Raiders, and he feels his mom. He lights up his lightsaber, opens
Yep.
the door. He finds her, and then we see again a Mexican telenovela. We see that, oh, Annie, it is you. You've grown. No, mom, no, mom. And then, well, Shmi dies. Shmi dies. And what does Anakin do?
Yeah.
He avenges.
So Anakin goes ham. I mean, like
He goes cray cray.
I mean, it goes insane.
He
goes cray cray. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, something that I would recommend to everybody, especially to the people listening to us, if you haven't read the comic of this section, you should do it. It's in one of the Vader issues where we see like what's it called, like what's this word, a throwback basically,
Okay.
where they show us exactly what Anakin does to all the Sand People. Because when Anakin in this movie confesses to Padme, because in the movie we just see Anakin cutting the head of two Sand People, like boom boom, right outside of Shmi's prison.
Yeah.
And then we just hear like Qui-Gon's voice saying, "Anakin, no!" And with the next scene we just see is just Anakin going back Shmi's body, going back to Owen Lars. That's his name.
Lars.
Owen Lars. Lars is his
Lars.
last name.
There we go.
So he goes back. He goes back to Owen Lars's house, and I mean that's it. And we see Anakin just like fixing some things, and really telling Padme something that we all understand. I mean, to be honest, like if someone would kill someone from your family, you would do exactly the same thing.
And then
Anakin,
Mexican soap opera continues. The Mexican soap opera continues. I killed them. I killed them. All of them. They're animals. I killed the women and children too. Oh, that was just.
There were animals, and I slaughtered them.
I slaughtered them
like animals. I'm like, wow, like, and yes, I mean, in the comic, you see like Anakin so angry that he was basically lifting rocks from the he was in, and smashing against the Tusken Raiders. Like he went completely insane. The comic is just a masterpiece. It's beautiful. And I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean,
it's
he,
very interesting here what we
yeah, he went crazy. I
yeah, go
mean,
ahead.
crazy, 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 crazy. He went crazy, crazy. But anywho, uh, uh, any Aerosmith fan
So
will understand. So here's that
yeah.
yell. Anywho, you were saying?
Yeah. So anyways, after this, Anakin is like, there is nothing else for me here. Like, I should just go. And when by the time that they go to their ship, they find that they had received a message from Obi-Wan. So going back to the scene where Obi-Wan was chasing Django, well, I mean, he tries to send a message, but he is what's it called? The signal was like too, or the planet where he was too far away, and he was like, okay,
Too
so
weak.
Anakin should be in Naboo,
Yep.
so he should be in Naboo, so the signal should be fine from here. But he finds out that he wasn't there. So he's like, okay, just he's in Tatooine. The signal can go there, like whatever. I'll just send him a message. But Obi-Wan, in the middle of that message, gets trapped. So Anakin and Padme go back to Geonosis, and it's like, okay, so Obi-Wan needs our help. They just retransmit the message to
To
I forgot, to the
Senate.
council,
No, no, no,
to the
not the Senate.
council,
The Jedi
to
Order. Yeah, to
to the
the
Jedi Council.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we see that
So in that
everybody knows. And in that, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, so in that message, just because this is going to be important for later on, just to give like this reference. But in that message, he explains the discovery of the clone army ordered by Sifo Dyas, and Yoda tells him, "Okay, so I'm gonna go to Camino. I'll find out what's all this. But all of you, should go to Geonosis. I'll meet you there." And well, I mean, here we just have a couple of minutes of, um, let's say, some type of espionage. I mean, just story developing, but we find, or we meet one of these very important characters, uh,
Count
and
Dooku.
one of this, yeah,
Oh my goodness.
very important character. Oh my god!
Yep.
First, the Count Dooku playing all no, all political. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
oh my god, Obi-Wan, I'm going to tell them to release you right away. This has been a terrible mistake. But but Count Dooku is just like, But before that, like, the council, the Senate is corrupted. Like, you should help me. Like, we should go against the Senate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Obi-Wan is like, I'm never going to join you. Now,
Correct.
something very important here. The relationship between Obi-Wan and Count Dooku was like very relaxed, or like they knew each other because Count Dooku was the master of Obi-Wan's master. So it was like the grandfather, the father, and the son. So, like we can kind of
Yeah. An interesting
put it
relationship.
in that concept.
And the most important thing here is that he tells it like it is. I mean, he tells Obi-Wan who the Dark Lord is. He says, what would you do, or what would you say if I told you that the man that's behind all of this is behind the Senate? He's like, no, that's impossible. No, that cannot be. That cannot be. So that is a very important part of this dialogue they share. And then we see again the dogma blinds you. That dogma, those rules blind you as they blinded Obi-Wan Kenobi. And yeah, so he ends up trapped. And yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, basically at this point, Obi-Wan, it's still trapped. Anakin and Padme arrive, but again, all the story, I mean, just details to end up getting trapped as well. So yeah. Obi-Wan, Padme, and Anakin, they all meet in the Coliseum, all trapped. And they're like, okay, well, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we see them like this. They're like pole posing, something like that. Well, you know, you get the reference. And they were opening up their OnlyFans account. Anywho,
yeah.
Now this gladiator type match. So yeah, go ahead.
This, we can say, is the critical point, the exact moment where the Clone Wars starts. The Clone Wars, all the war that we know of, especially now I'm sorry, up to these days in TV animated series, it's been what the Attack of the Clones was released in 2002, right? 2002, 2021. We're talking about 19 years. Yeah, we're talking about 19 years of the Clone Wars. Anyways, that's a talk for another day. But anyways, well, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Padme, they are all trapped. All of a sudden, all the Jedis arrive. They release them, but they all of a sudden they find themselves surrounded by shitload of I'm sorry, can we say shit? Anyways, by a lot.
You just said it. You just said it. So
a lot of. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about clones. I'm talking about they get surrounded by droids. We see a lot of Jedis just going down. They're just like dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Boom, 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 boom. One after another, after another, after another. And all of a sudden, while they are all surrounded, we see Yoda arriving with the clones. Get a perimeter, you shall, around the survivors. We see the clones. I'm getting the goosebumps, like just remembering this scene. I'm getting the goosebumps, like woo, woo. I'm getting the goosebumps.
Well, yeah, and then we see all of the badasses, which were the Jedi, just playing against all those droids, and we see this comedic relief scene where we see, of course, C-3PO's head on a droid, and just I don't know. I mean, it was funny.
Yeah,
you see that. We're not gonna talk much about that, but that scene is kind of funny. What happens before the scene?
Just to give a little bit more.
Yeah, just like in the fabric of the droids, and the head of 3PO ends up being lost and put in the body of another droid, and all that. And I mean, it's kind of funny. And well, yeah, we see that Anakin loses his lightsaber as well. They end up being trapped, and then going back to the Coliseum, back to the fight. We see a lot of Jedi. We see that Jango Fett goes down to the arena.
Yeah.
And Mace Windu goes and attacks him. So he's just like deflecting all of the shots fired by Jango, and he just does this, whee, and bye-bye, Jango's head.
Yes, we see the moment where Django dies. I mean, unfortunately, we didn't see much of Django, but in this movie, uh, but we know that his legacy carried on because after that, Boba is the one who takes his place. He takes the legacy of.
Yeah.
But anyways, you the remaining or the surviving Jedi's, we see the exact moment, as I said, where basically the Clone War started because we have the clones arriving to like in an open field in Geonosis, and we see all the other droids like in trouble, and actually all the Federation people, which were reunited in Geonosis, they say like we have to escape because we might lose this battle. So if we want to win the Republic, we need to like get our own things and we need to retrieve. So, oof, we see one of the most intense and exciting fights because by the time that they, well, first of all, they start chasing Dooku. Dooku starts, he was going to escape, and Obi-Wan and Anakin, they go after him. But we see a Dooku, like, how dangerous he was with the lightsaber. He was extremely dangerous. He unarmed and basically made Obi-Wan and Anakin useless in 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes.
He made him.
He's like, yeah, yo, boom,
his,
boom, boom.
His.
Yeah.
His.
But then, then, who do we see? We just hear a like cane, like tick, 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 and then we see like a little shadow, and Yoda. Like, is Yoda going to be able to do something? Because in this point, Yoda is like 800 and something years.
Yeah.
I mean, he was old.
He old.
But we see we see the first time Yoda having a lightsaber battle, and I don't know, it was amazing. Master and also finding out that Yoda was the master of Dooku, like oh my god.
Yep. And obviously, Dooku says that he's grown stronger with the Force, and then Yoda's like, much to learn you have. Something like that, It's good. It's kind of funny. That scene is kind of funny because you just see Yoda jump in and jump in and jump in from here and there. Just this little thing fighting up with his little lightsaber. Funny, and good. Good scene.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of funny because you just see him jumping around, but it's also very impressive because if you take in consideration that Yoda at that point is 800 plus years, like, wow. I mean, he's old, but he could kill you in like that. I mean, he was very powerful.
Yeah.
And here, before Yoda arrived, we see that unfortunately Anakin loses his arm. So, trying to fight.
Bye, manita. Bye,
trying to find Dooku. Bye.
Say bye. Bye.
So, as Dooku couldn't beat Yoda, he just basically finds a distraction. He was going to throw some rocks and like some pipes to Obi-Wan, and Yoda just like trying to save them. Dooku escapes, and like, well, that's it. Dooku escapes, Yoda saves them, and like off we go. What happens after that?
Well,
Dooku
meets with Sidious.
I mean,
and everything is going according to plan. And in the end scene, we see
everything goes according. Yeah.
Yeah, in the end scene, we see Anakin and Padme getting married on the shadows on Naboo without anyone knowing. Well, just R2 and C3PO.
Uh,
No.
that scene is also very good. I got another goosebumps. Because at the same time that they are showing us Anakin and Padme's wedding, at the same time, the entire council, and I'm talking Yoda, Windu, etc., all the people from the Jedi Council, plus Palpatine and his people, seeing all the clone army in Coruscant and deploying all the ships to the space. Dun, 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 dun. Yep.
There you go. Our bad sound effects, all improvised by yours truly, Kyber Squad. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah, and so that's what we do. Special effects, and yeah, just basically that's it. Uh, they leave us with a huge cliffhanger, a really good story that goes from all the politics, and the story. It's very interesting. It's very interesting because it gives you this mix between drama and action. We see a little bit more of action, more fights, more like lightsaber duels. We see another characters, but a really good cliffhanger, a really good story that will leaves us for the perfect ending of this trilogy. Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith, which we're going to talk about in the next episode. Yep. Jerry, any final notes? Any final comments?
Nothing. I mean, you pointed it out perfectly. This is a very Mexicanized movie because it has soap opera. It has this telenovela type of feeling. So we can relate to that in some way, Mexicans or Latinos in general.
Yeah.
And it's a great movie. We see Samuel L. Jackson in action. That's great as well. We see Yoda in action. We see a lot of Jedi in action. And we see the clones being not born. Well, yeah, born. We see some clones getting born and some other beautiful things. I mean, the only thing that I would say, it's just the romantic stuff. I didn't enjoy a lot, but it's part of it all. It's part of the development of the characters.
Yeah.
And it had to happen.
No. Now, so something I haven't given my opinion. It's the grade. Now, you talk at the beginning of this of this episode that you would rate episode 2 with a 7.5. Me personally, I would give it an 8, a solid 8 to this movie.
You're more what was the word? More I forget the word. You're more positive as
What's
far
the word
as
in
the rating goes.
Spanish?
More positive. So okay, a solid 8. Now you guys, gals,
solid 8.
You guys, you gals, you tell us what you think about this one. How would you rate it? How would you rate our mediocre storytelling, our comments here about this specific movie? Of course, as always, leave us a comment, dislike. We're here for you. We're here to create more content. If we can call this content, so subscribe as well. Mara and Azaka are just playing around downstairs. I apologize for that. So yeah, subscribe, share. Don't share. No, please share. That's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Yes, please share it.